general way that he is responsible for the enforcement of the laws as to all classes, the President has nothing to do with the faculties of medicine and education, which are controlled by boards of regents of their own, in which the President is ex officio chairman and has the casting vote. These regents, who, of course, are responsible to Congress, are chosen by the honorary members of the guilds of education and medicine, the retired teachers and doctors of the country. Do you know, I said, the method of electing officials by votes of the retired members of the guilds is nothing more than the application on a national scale of the plan of government by alumni, which we use to a slight extent occasionally in the management of our higher educational institutions. Did you indeed? Exclaimed Dr. Leete with animation. That is quite new to me, that I fancy will be to most of us, and of much interest as well. There has been great discussion as to the germ of the idea, and we fancied that there was for once something new under the sun. Well, well, in your higher educational institutions? That is interesting indeed. You must tell me more of that. Truly, there is very little more to tell than I have told already, I replied. If we had the germ of your idea, it was but as a germ. Chapter 18. That evening I sat up for some time after the ladies had retired, talking with Dr. Leete about the effect of the plan of exempting men from further service to the nation after the age of 45, a point brought up by his account of the part taken by the retired citizens in the government. At 45, said I, a man still has 10 years of good manual labour in him, and twice 10 years of good intellectual service. To be superannuated at that age and laid on the shelf must be regarded rather as a hardship than a favour by men of energetic dispositions. My dear Mr. West, exclaimed Dr. Leete, beaming upon me, you cannot have any idea of the piquancy your 19th century ideas have for us of this day, the rare quaintness of their effect. Know, O child of another race and yet the same, that the labour we have to render as our part in securing for the nation the means of a comfortable physical existence is by no means regarded as the most important, the most interesting, or the most dignified employment of our powers. We look upon it as a necessary duty to be discharged before we can fully devote ourselves to the higher exercise of our faculties, the intellectual and spiritual enjoyments and pursuits which alone mean life. Everything possible is indeed done by the just distribution of burdens, and by all manner of special attractions and incentives to relieve our labour of irksomeness, and, except in a comparative sense, it is not usually irksome, and is often inspiring. But it is not our labour, but the higher and larger activities which the performance of our task will leave us free to enter upon, that are considered the main business of existence. Of course, not all, nor the majority, have those scientific, artistic, literary, or scholarly interests which make leisure the one thing valuable to their possessors. Many look upon the last half of life chiefly as a period for enjoyment of other sorts, for travel, for social relaxation in the company of their lifetime friends, a time for the cultivation of all manner of personal idiosyncrasies and special tastes, and the pursuit of every imaginable form of recreation. In a word, a time for the leisurely and unperturbed appreciation of the good things of the world which they have helped to create. But whatever the differences between our individual tastes as to the use we shall put our leisure to, we all agree in looking forward to the date of our discharge as the time when we shall first enter upon the full enjoyment of our birthright, the period when we shall first really attain our majority and become enfranchised from discipline and control, with the fee of our lives vested in ourselves. As eager boys in your day anticipated 21, so men nowadays look forward to 45. At 21 we become men, but at 45 we renew youth. Middle age and what you would have called old age are considered, rather than youth, the enviable time of life. Thanks to the better conditions of existence nowadays, and above all the freedom of everyone from care, old age approaches many years later and has an aspect far more benign than in past times. Persons of average constitution usually live to 85 or 90, and at 45 we are physically and mentally younger, I fancy, than you were at 35. It is a strange reflection that at 45, when we are just entering upon the most enjoyable period of life, you already began to think of growing old and to look backward. With you it was the forenoon. With us it is the afternoon, which is the brighter half of life. After this, I remember that our talk branched into the subject of popular sports and recreations at the present time as compared with those of the 19th century. In one respect, said Dr. Leete, there is a marked difference. The professional sportsmen, which were such a curious feature of your day, we have nothing answering to, nor are the prizes for which our athletes contend money prizes as with you. Our contests are always for glory only. The generous rivalry existing between the various guilds, and the loyalty of each worker to his own, afford a constant stimulation to all sorts of games and matches by sea and land, in which the young men take scarcely more interest than the honorary guildsmen who have served their time. The guild yacht races off Marblehead take place next week, and you will be able to judge for yourself of the popular enthusiasm which such events nowadays call out as compared with your day. The demand for panem et circenses preferred by the Roman populace is recognized nowadays as a wholly reasonable one. If bread is the first necessity of life, recreation is a close second, and the nation caters for both. Americans of the 19th century were as unfortunate in lacking an adequate provision for the one sort of need as for the other. Even if the people of that period had enjoyed larger leisure, they would, I fancy, have often been at a loss how to pass it agreeably. We are never in that predicament. End of chapter 18.